Well, we're going to look at a few more memes here and just show you the hypocrisy of everything and stuff that's going on. We have one right here where somebody wants to take a wrecking ball to the pyramids and they say, "Get them down, lads. These were built by slaves," making an ironic gesture towards the stupidity of trying to take down, Robert Lee statues or anything, pretty much. It just all looks so pathetic and very wanton and needy to most people. Um, But the ironic truth is they found out now that, of course, the Egyptians themselves built the pyramids. They were paid and fed pretty well whenever they did. The very first strike ever was recorded whenever they ran out of their coal eye makeup and the stuff that they put on them for sunblock and stuff while they were in the middle of doing this. And did the Egyptian guys freak out on them? No, they actually threw a little festival and then they got back to work. So it was like, my bad. And he sent him a big old shipment of them and everything. He goes, "Oh, let's just have a big party." And then did it. But these pyramids were created by blue-eyed Egyptians. You can look up blue-eyed Egyptians. It'll show you the earliest dynasties, crystal blue eyes, which are kind of an anomaly there, an OOPArt, an out-of-place artifact, where they made these lenses that look just like human eyes and put them on the statues. And, even the Greeks and stuff made incredible statues, but that realism of eye is something that got lost in earliest of Egyptian times. Look up Egyptian scribes and you'll see it all the way through the 12th dynasty, but then there's some that are later, like Nefertiti. She still has one blue eye left in her eye, too. And there are a lot of blonde and red-haired statues, not statues, but actual mummies that they have found. And people have always tried to say that, well, that's probably from the natron process. Well, they took all kinds of people's hair and put it through natron, and it didn't change any of them one single bit. And one thing for sure, it didn't turn black people's hair all of a sudden into Caucasians' hair and turn it blonde either. But they desperately want to say that they were the ones that built the pyramids and not who they actually were. And if you think that's not causing a big problem for themselves by their own hands, you're delusional. And so are they. Because if you're white, you're racist. Unless you're a liberal, right? And if you're black unless you support Trump. Right? You ain't black. If you're looting and rioting, you're a patriot and immune to COVID somehow. But if you attend a Trump rally, you're a white supremacist who wants to spread disease. And this is what the news has tried to put out as soon as they found out, well, they're having all these things and you're all happy about it, so let's go ahead and have this rally we were going to have. It looks like things have calmed down and y'all don't want to talk about it anymore. And then all of a sudden they go, "Oh my God." And they go, "Well, what about this then?" "Oh, that's great." How can that be great when this is not? In the first part, I showed a picture of thousands of people packed in and they're all just praising it having happened. Trump does the same thing, and oh, bad man. It's a hypocrisy. Rioters in Seattle region have sent out desperate pleas via social media, begging for everything from food to clothing to basic toiletries. Congratulations to them on achieving true communism so quickly. And so what they really have turned into is people that are going to end up being a mooch leech and a beggar off of humanity who doesn't agree with their ass. And they don't agree with anybody else. And that's why they separated themselves. But they've already got segregated gardens and things. Yeah, some hip-hop guy's supposed to try to be the leader of everything. They've already shot somebody. All kinds of crap going on. They want IDs. They say that you shouldn't have guns, and then they're going around with guns. It's hilarious. Liberal protesters took several city blocks in Seattle. They call it the autonomous zone. I thought those zones were called state universities. Well, it used to be, but that's when there were smart people that were going to school trying to learn things and better themselves and all of humanity. While these gimps think that what they're doing is something that's going to end up bettering all of humanity, what we do find is that they're trying to ruin everything due to their whining. Have a nice cup of shut the fuck up. Because if Democrats can riot, then Republicans can rally. Damn straight. The more you know. Did you know that in 1964, on the floor of the U.S. Senate, Democrats held the longest filibuster in our nation's history. And if you've ever studied American history, you hear about these filibusters, and they went on and all this stuff. But it went on for 75 days. What was it from? Well, it was all trying to prevent the passing of one thing. 1964. What do you think it was the Democrats were filibustering for 75 days on? Well, it was the Civil Rights Act. Wakey, wakey, ding, ding, ding. LBJ once famously said that due to what he just did, he's going to have black people voting Democrat for 100 years. I don't think it quite lasted that long. Did he say 100 years? Here's Michael Knowles, real smart guy, does a lot of blogging and stuff. The left controls every major institution in America. Mainstream media, the academy, administrative government, Hollywood, big tech, all kinds of stuff. So if institutional racism is there, really, and if it does exist, whose fault would that be? Yeah, they keep saying that that's what it is, but if they're the people that are controlling all of this, now maybe we peer through the veil of, look, there's just a man behind the curtain who rode in on a balloon. Dan Crenshaw, Texas. Love this guy. I just want to remind all, when you create an autonomous zone, you don't get to demand a long list of supplies from the orderly capitalist society that you are rebelling against. Kind of defeats the meaning of autonomous, doesn't it? Oh, snap. Ding. You know this guy, Chris Cuomo, Fredo Gimp. Yeah, I was exposing himself. Believe it or not, whenever the COVID was going on and he was trapped in his wife's basement having to do stories from there, he broke down one day and literally told everybody he doesn't like doing what he's doing and putting out false narratives and things like that. He kind of just almost shed his skin right there. But then he came back to work, went right after Trump, all kinds of stuff, and those protests broke out and turned into riots. And his answer for that was, show me where it says protests are supposed to be peaceful. The Constitution, and he went off on it. Well, the First Amendment talks about, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. That's in the U.S. Constitution. So you ought to be a little more aware of what your lying and directives are, because it's really adventures in fake news. Year 2020 should be a textbook example taught in schools on how the media manufactures news to create hatred, hysteria, division, and fear. Kind of a George Orwell kind of thing. All to destroy political opponents and bring about whatever ideology and narratives they want to push, regardless of the truth. CNN got caught. Yep, many, many times, but this is just one from last week from protesters, because I don't know why they thought this was going to work, but the other stations showed it too, and somebody caught it in the exact frame that they did too of the real footage and wondered why they had went through this trouble. Look at this. They lightened the photo of the man that drove into the protesters in Seattle to make him appear white. When you guys realize that it's us versus the media now, and they want a race war for, look what they did, and tried to pale him out, and this is actually the guy that showed up with a gun running into protesters. Sad commentary. Memorial to fallen police officers was removed after left-wing mob vandalized it. We should put up a bigger one. Truck drivers say they're not going to deliver to dangerous far-left cities with defunded police departments. Uh-oh. You know, if truckers just balk on this situation, everything will falter. What are you going to do? Start using the railways again? Don't want to piss off truckers. Brother-in-law's a trucker. NBC News tweets show how coronavirus is only a concern in crowds when Trump is involved. Yeah, this guy did a whole video with a string of them where they're literally in the same day, going and praising with all these people together and never mentioning a mask or a COVID-19 situation and how it's fantastic. And then Trump wants to hold a rally and they start throwing fits. He hasn't done it. But then they go back to the Trump protester people and love it, love it, love it, love it. He cannot have a rally. These people should keep going with their rally. Then it came out that Oklahoma said it was okay. It's okay. Come on in. Because all the doctors say if we do this, it should be just fantastic. Let's go ahead. And so they did. And they threw fits. Oh, and Bloomberg, he keeps trying to put little things out there. Yeah, the little man Bloomberg that lost the whole thing came in and then was shown, oh, here's the door guy. That guy who blew millions and millions on his little campaign attempt because he thought if he blew millions and said the right things, he could do just like Trump. Well, the thing is, Trump didn't blow that much. He said the right things because he tried to do the right things. Problem is that he's being held back and hampered by everything. Could you imagine what level we could have gotten to if the Dems would have gotten behind him instead of being a witch trial like they tried to be for the first 4 years of his 8-year tenure that he's probably going to end up having? Can you imagine it? If media didn't do any racist thing at all, but started promoting the fact that that shit's out the door, and not be every day trying to do it, but just every once in a while throw in a fact that, man, things are looking great. Just to state that, rather than trying to find the worst thing that they can do and make the president look as terrible as possible. Look at this Chris Cuomo guy. You can see his conscience in the picture. You can see him staring at you, staring at him, saying, dude, what the hell are you trying to do? It's pathetic. Yep. As a former Aryan, I'm sure he hates himself deeply. So, yeah, man, Dan Crenshaw, former soldier and everything, lost his eye in service and everything off of him. Dude's got some snap. Might end up a couple of times down the road end up being a good candidate for president, too. Yeah, so did you know that in 1964, the Democrats held back the longest filibuster in the nation's history, just trying to prevent the passing of the Civil Rights Act? Here's another cute little fact. In 1850, at the height of slavery, just before the Civil War was happening and everything, only 1% of Americans owned slaves, actually. And there are no found Republicans that own slaves. Coming into the war, the Republicans weren't part of that to begin with. Were there any Republicans in the South? Yes, definitely. It's kind of sad to look at that, isn't it? Imagine how that went down for them, and then after, and looked at and everything. Oh, just terrible. The northern guys come down, carpetbagging, all that situation, if you've ever studied American history and what goes on with that. Anyhow, guys, like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy, and we'll get on. Memes are supposed to make you laugh, but sometimes they're supposed to be coffee for the soul. Peace.